Ethiopia condemns accusation by The Economist. And Ethiopia calls for Sudan to stick to the dual agreement to solve the border conflict. Hello and thank you all for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. To stay with us. The Ethiopian government has condemned in the strongest of terms the accusation by The Economist that it is using, quote, hunger as a weapon, after citing accounts quoting fretting of a certain Western diplomat and hesitating that it is impossible to know. The article then proceeds to make such an unconscionable and serious claim, said State of Emergency Fact-Checking Office in a statement today. In the past month, the government of Ethiopia has mobilized and delivered more than 31,000 metric tons of food, non-food items and medical supplies to the Tigray regional state, it noted. In addition, the government of Ethiopia is putting in place necessary security protocols to protect civilians, stabilize the region, and capture remaining suspects of treasonous crimes, it said. According to the office, this article trivializes the constitutional obligation of the federal government of Ethiopia and resorts to a wholesale insult that, quote, the government is too incompetent. The Ethiopian National Defense Forces and other security institutions have demonstrated exceptional courage and skill in this law enforcement operation, said the statement. Federal agencies, utility companies, and other service providers are working at full speed to restore services in Tigray. They are doing so in the wake of TPLF's and its militias' well-documented acts of vandalism against public and private infrastructure and assets including telecom, transport, energy, and banking. Reconstruction will take time, and this air of disconnect and mystery is fueling misinformation as the one in this article, it said. The article neglects to consider the TPLF's history of systematic human rights violations. Like the rest of humanity, the people of Ethiopia seek peace and the rule of law, it indicated. Thanks to our millennia-old tradition of statehood, Ethiopians are fierce believers in justice. And in this land of justice, actions have consequences, it noted. In this complicated and high-stakes operation, humanitarian, diplomatic, and media agencies will have to endure the inconvenience of heeding to the directions of the government. The success of this operation necessitates that as Tigray transitions to rebuilding and recovery, it said. The gravest error this article makes is its short-sightedness. Ethiopians have a dream for peace and prosperity. The past 2 years have been profoundly painful for all Ethiopians, but the government of Ethiopia believes we are headed in the right direction. Magnifying troubles and echoing accusations of past regimes within the article as a comparison to this administration is a mere distraction. Ethiopians will not watch helplessly and idly as history repeats itself. This is exactly why the government of Ethiopia has been determined in preventing spoilers such as TPLF from hijacking our new chapter, it noted. The government is implementing historic reforms across economic, political, and social sectors. Ethiopia is poised to enter a new era, and the law enforcement operation in Tigray is a costly but necessary step in the right direction, it added. It is regrettable that The Economist assumes that leaders in Africa are either evil or incompetent, the statement stated. Ethiopian officials called for resolving border disputes with Sudan in accordance with bilateral agreements and joint border mechanisms and said that the military escalation does not serve the path of peace. They noted that the Sudanese forces must restore the situation to what it was before the 8th of November in implementation of the understandings signed in 2005 between the two countries. Emmanuel Jogi presents Al Jazeera story.
This is how the agricultural fields extend in the Amhara regional state which borders Sudan. There's nothing here indicating that war is feared to rage at the borders, about which Ethiopia says that its demarcation agreements in 1902 determined their points on maps only. The demarcation on the ground took place without the presence of the representative of Ethiopia. Because of that, the points are still in dispute, especially in the areas north of Mount Douglas. And it is the cause of suffering for the farmers here.
For more than 20 years, while I cultivated the border areas, sometimes simple skirmishes occur. But what happened in November, I had never seen anything like it. When the Sudanese army entered, and there were no Ethiopian forces at that time, only civilians, the army destroyed everything and caused displacement thousands and losses in the millions.
Officials in the region say that this attack is a blatant violation of the covenants signed between the two countries as the 1972. The 1972 agreement provides for the redemarcation process with the condition that the problems arising from the presence of farmers be settled amicably, while the 2005 agreement provides for the survival of the status quo as it is as the temporary solution until a final agreement is reached on the borders.
Confrontations that have taken place are not beneficial to the two countries. The two peoples in Amhara region and Sudan are neighbors by virtue of geographic reality, and resolving differences must be in accordance with bilateral agreements and joint border mechanisms. The Sudanese forces must withdraw and restore the situation to what it was before the end of November in implementation understandings in 2005.
Though still Sudanese armed forces have forcefully occupied Ethiopian sovereign lands, but Ethiopia is committed to solve the existing border dispute based on the 1972 agreement. Ethiopia has indicated that it wants the 1902 status quo to remain intact.
The UK expressed desire for Ethiopia and Sudan to resolve their border issues in a peaceful manner. Ethiopia's senior government officials held discussions with the UK Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, Dominic Raab, here yesterday. The State Secretary stressed that the UK is desirous to boost bilateral ties with Ethiopia in various fields. Haptam Washagri attended the event and filed the following report.
Ethiopian President Sahle Zewde held consultative discussions with the UK Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, Dominic Raab, aiming to solidify bilateral ties of the two countries. Briefing journalists, the UK Secretary of State for Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Affairs, Dominic Raab, said the UK government is ready to cement investment and economic cooperation with Ethiopia.
I wanted to come here because there are opportunities for investment and for economic prosperity for the Ethiopian people, also for British businesses. That's a win-win. There's a whole range of other things. I'm here at this school which we help support through our aid program because we prize education of Ethiopians, in particular girls' education, so highly. And there are all sorts of other global challenges where we want to work with our Ethiopian friends on climate change, on coronavirus, and in particular making sure that countries like Ethiopia can get access, equitable access to the vaccines that now are rolling forward. So I think it was high time to come here and speak to various different members of the government and to come and see what our investments are achieving here in a school like this.
He added that the UK government calls upon Ethiopia and Sudan to resolve their boundary disputes in a peaceful manner.
Sudan and Ethiopia are both good friends of the United Kingdom. We know the challenges and the sensitivities, but we encourage all our friends to de-escalate any of those tensions and settle their challenges and the bones of contention, the issues, in a peaceful and politically common sense way, and I'm confident that they will achieve that.
He stresses the UK government is always committed to work along with Ethiopia to modernize the education as well as health sectors. The State Secretary reaffirmed that the UK has recognized the remarkable climate change activities made by Ethiopia's government. According to the State Secretary, the UK government is desirous to cement bilateral ties with Ethiopia in various fields. Dominic has paid a visit in Yeka Misrak Chora Kindergarten and Primary School in Addis Ababa. Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia and Deputy Prime Minister Demeke Mekonnen has also discussed with the State Secretary the effective law enforcement operation and rehabilitation activities in the state of Tigray. Attending the discussion, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia spokesperson Dina Mufti said the minister has briefed other concerns to his counterpart.
Both officials have cited that the relationship between the two countries is deep and historic. Both countries have been cooperating in various areas. And the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister particularly, has briefed the guest on the successful operations for maintaining law and order in the northern part of Ethiopia, and the current performance at rehabilitations and restorations in the region, especially in Tigray, especially the humanitarian relief. He briefed the guest on the coordinations between the relief agencies and the government of Ethiopia on the delivery of the relief supplies to the affected regions. And he extensively briefed him also on the rehabilitations which are going on extensively in Tigray, and on the formations of the transitional government also, which is evolving and in fact expanding its structures to the different parts of the region. He briefed the guest also on the tensions on the Ethio-Sudanese border. He briefed him on the essence, the genesis of the tension, the fact that Ethiopia is committed toward these peaceful resolutions of these differences.
According to the spokesperson, Demeke has briefed the State Secretary about the existing Ethiopia's position about the tripartite negotiation on good.
Ethiopia is committed to this negotiation which is being conducted under the auspices of the African Union, and Ethiopia is always out to see fruitful conclusions of these trilateral discussions, though others are coming out and coming in so that we could not successfully accomplish the trilateral discussion so far.
The State Secretary is recognizing the effective and remarkable green development strategies of Ethiopia to alleviate the negative impact of climate change.
Meanwhile, the UK Foreign Secretary and First Secretary of State Dominic Raab yesterday visited the delivery of the humanitarian assistance to those in need in the northern part of Ethiopia. The Foreign Secretary saw how the £11 million of UK aid is supporting the World Food Programme and NGOs to make sure the relief aid reaches those affected by the recent law enforcement operation in the region. Raab arrived in Ethiopia yesterday after concluding his visit to Kenya and Sudan.
Policy Matters is a conversation platform which aims to provide reasoned analysis and context to the activities, reforms, and policies of the federal government of Ethiopia. Exploring various reforms the government is undertaking, the conversation platform aspires to enable nuanced and informed understanding.
Do we have what it takes to transition into a digital economy? What would you say are some of the initiatives the government has taken so that we're not left behind and that we are actually transitioning or transforming into a digital economy?
So for us as a country, moving to a digital economy and making ICT a priority sector, but also understanding the role that digital can have on our national priorities is a necessity, not only to have new sources of growth, but for survival.
How are institutions being empowered, be it at the Warada level, regional level, or federal level, to transform themselves to be digitally enabled institutions?
Mindset is important. We need to build a culture of innovation. We need to build a culture of experimentation. It's all about being able to work together. It's about coordination. It's about collaboration. It's really important to be able to break those silences because we need to have data flowing.
Welcome back. You're watching Addis News Hour. Patron of the Ethiopian Professors Council, President Sahle-Work Zewde, urges Ethiopian professors to use their knowledge and potential for national development. Speaking on the second Ethiopian Professors Council Forum, members of the council expressed their willingness to discharge their responsibility on the country's developmental endeavors. Haptamu Ashagri has more.
Ethiopian Professors Council aims to amplify professors' integrated role in the national development programs. Speaking in a virtual message on the second session of Ethiopian Professors Council, President Sahle-Work Zewde urged Ethiopian professors to maximize their efforts in the areas of research, community, and other advisory services.
መንግስት የሀገር በቀል የኢኮኖሚ ሪፎርምን በመቅረጽ የእድገት ጉዞን በመንደፍ እንዲሁም
The government has been implementing a homegrown economic strategy in various sectors. We're also adopting the 10-year Ethiopia's Perspective Plan, which will enable the country's high growth trajectory and position Ethiopia as an African beacon of prosperity through prioritizing some economic sectors. Therefore, you have to utilize your knowledge and skills through conducting research as well as putting other alternative ideas in a bid to bring scientific clarifications to realize inclusive development in the country. It's also expected that you can elaborate and disseminate accurate information to promote the nation's potential in different development programs. Improving such kind of activities is needed for all-round developments of our country.
በሀገራችን በየዘርፉ መዳበር አለበት።
Minister of Science and Higher Education Samuel Urkato on his part said the ministry has been working to utilize knowledge and skill of scholars for the benefits of the people and the country.
በቀጣይ የእድገትና የልማት ጉዟችን ከናንተ ከምሁራኖቻችን ጋር እየተመካከርን
We are ready to discuss with Ethiopian scholars to enhance the participation of scholars on the development programs of the nation through alleviating problems in the future. The Ministry of Science and Higher Education has been undertaking various policy and strategies to actively engage on Ethiopia's 10-year perspective plan along with other institutions. I call upon all Ethiopian professors to stand together for Ethiopia's development.
ይህ እርምጃ የተጠናከረና
Various research papers are presented and discussed on the second Ethiopian Professors Council Forum. It was learned.
The Ethiopian diaspora have been supporting the Dine for Nation project ever since it was launched a year ago by the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. A foreigner of Ethiopian origin said they are supporting the Dine for Nation as well as Dine for Sugar initiatives with an intention of thanking Ethiopian people and everyone. The foreigner of Ethiopian origin further urged the public and the diaspora to strengthen support for this multi-purpose project. Emmanuel Joge reports.
The Dine for Sugar initiative has been launched by the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and aims to clean rivers and create public parks in the capital city Addis Ababa. Dine for Nation is an extension of the Dine for Sugar project aiming to beautify Ethiopia to preserve and utilize its natural resources wisely. Ethiopians living all over the world are significantly supporting the projects. But engagements of foreigners of Ethiopian origin like Harsh Kotari are very encouraging for other Ethiopians to strengthen their support to the initiative.
I am born in Ethiopia and my family has been here for over 100 years. So we just wanted to have our fingerprints on, on some of the initiatives that are going on. So we thought it would be a good opportunity to participate in these initiatives. Which is why we participated in the Dine for Sugar as well as for Dine for the Ethiopia projects. For us, contributing is about expressing our love for Ethiopia. It's about saying thank you to the people of Ethiopia and thanking Ethiopia in general, because we've been born and brought up here. We've been getting a lot of love, a lot of respect from the people of Ethiopia. And we feel Ethiopians ourselves.
Underlining that the projects will highly benefit the country, he said that not only Ethiopians, but every concerned body should support in whatever it can because it magnifies the existing big image of the country.
Everybody should support such developmental projects, is my personal opinion, because such projects contribute a lot to the country. Ethiopia is already very linked globally because of the Ethiopian Airlines. Ethiopia has a very old history, tradition, culture that needs to be expressed. And Ethiopia has one of the most beautiful landscapes that I have seen in the world. People spend thousands of dollars and go to Switzerland, but we have the same beauty here. And we just need to develop it a little bit. And that way we can showcase the country and the people of this country to the rest of the world.
Kotari added that the Dine for Nation initiative is one of the most beautiful places that the world people need to visit.
The projects in Wanchi, Koisha, I mean, I have been to Wanchi a few times. It's a beautiful place. It's a lake. There is a mountain. You go down the mountain on a horse. The lake is beautiful, blue, nice, blue-green, and then in the middle of the lake there is an island. One of the most beautiful places I've seen in my life. These are the kinds of places that the world needs to know about, the world needs to see and admire.
In fact, Ethiopia is among top tourist destinations in Africa, having many attraction sites. And people are coming to Ethiopia for business, for meeting, on transit through Ethiopia, which is connecting Africa to the rest of the world. These projects in the Dine for Nation initiative are believed to be additional reasons to stay a few more days longer to visit different parts of the country.
After months of confusion as to whether schools in some African countries should reopen or not amid the coronavirus pandemic, January 2021 saw a section of schools across the continent open their doors to students. CGT in Africa takes a look at the impact it has had so far in the last 3 weeks. Take a look.
We are all well aware that the government had sent some agencies and sent out directives to make sure that schools are in compliance with the COVID guidelines. So my school, we have built physical classes to space out the children. So where we used to have 15 to 18 pupils in one class, they've been split into 2 or 3 classes. And at the gate, we have the disinfectant to spray the bags, and we have told the parents to limit the amount of bags that is brought to school.
For me, my major concern is just about the kids. You know, they are super spreaders according to research, and most times you don't see symptoms, but the spread is very fast and all. But fortunately for me, because of the school my child attends, they are very careful. They are following all the guidelines and all of that. So I have some kind of relief. I'm not so worried.
Even before COVID-19, most of our schools in Kenya and Africa at large were not compliant to the international standards of 1 class of particular measurements against 45 students. Presently, you'd get 1 class which was constructed to accommodate 45 students, having over 120 students. It is true that if we enforce virtual learning as we speak, we are going to exclude a number of students from the formal education. In fact, more than 50% of the learners. But through systematic implementation, it is possible that we can go virtual.
And finally in sports, in the 9th week match of BetKing Ethiopian Premier League, Sidama Coffee secures 3 points by defeating Sebeta City. The